What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Fight franchise, and a bit of a fun one. We have just seen the best chin, or one of the best chins in the UFC, Max Blessed Holloway, get cracked by Ilia Topuria. So what better time than to look at the UFC roster and some of the fighters on the roster and grading their chins and seeing how durable they are from worst to kind of best. We picked out a bunch of random guys from the current roster, and we've got the rankings as follows. At the very bottom, the worst chins, glass jaw bums, average, decent, good, and titanium. Self-explanatory, just ranking how good they can take a hit on the chin and their survivability. So let's get started. So we're going to start off with Jamal Hill. Jamal's been in a couple of wars and been in a couple of big fights, but most recently had his huge loss against Alex Pereira, where he got quite viciously KO'd by the left hook. Not a lot to go off because I don't believe he's been finished outside of submissions other than that and not really been knocked out. But for getting nuked, it's Pereira, but for getting nuked by Pereira, we haven't seen it really tested much out of that. So we're just going to kind of put him in average for now. Colby Covington up next. We haven't seen much of him recently. He doesn't fight much, but where would we rank his chin? Most of the time it's been kind of rocked by Kamaru Usman, but he was never really kind of put out flat out cold. In the KO loss to Usman, he was dropped by Masvidal. Leon Edwards didn't really put on the pressure against him, but every time he's kind of dropped, he's never kind of been out of it. He's kind of recovered. So for that reason, we're going to put him in decent. John Jones up next. How good is the Dana White's GOAT's chin? We've got to kind of put him in titanium. The only reason being we haven't really seen him as tested because he has fought guys who have kind of had power, but they've never really landed clean on him. But for the years kind of work he's done, the kind of strikes absorbed throughout his career, I think him and Max Holloway have absorbed some of the most strikes in the UFC without I don't think even Bones has been dropped, to be honest with you. So for that reason, I'd kind of put him in titanium. It's never really truly been tested, but he has got the track record to back it. Islam Makhachev, I'll put him in good for now. I don't think you can ever put anyone who's KO'd in titanium. I think once your chin has been shattered, never again can you consider a titanium chin. KO'd early on in his career, but ever since then, he's taken a couple of licks, taken a couple of damage, never been truly dropped or rocked, but, chin is decent. He's taken some good shots off Alex Volkanovski and Dustin Poirier recently. He's improved in his striking game, hasn't really been dropped much, but he does opt to grapple. So we don't really see it tested, but I'd say he's got a good chin, Islam Makhachev. Tony Ferguson, glass jaw bum, ever since it got broken, his chin got destroyed by Justin Gaethje and it got truly shattered by Michael Chandler for the front kick. Ever since then, he's never been the same. He is a glass jaw bum, and it's unfortunate to say because he was one of the most durable and best fighters in the UFC in his legendary streak. Up next, Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa has been in wars with some of the biggest and best middleweights. Being KO'd by Israel Adesanya, if I remember, in their fight. Fought Luke Rockhold in a competitive bout. He's fought Robert Whittaker and Sean Strickland recently. It took that Yoel Romero took a head kick off him, but took some big shots against Yoel Romero. But that easy KO, kind of knocks him down a bit. Colby's never been KO'd like that, I'd say, but Colby's been dropped on multiple occasions. I'll just maybe say he's got a good, decent chin. Paulo Costa has. I think he's susceptible to punches. But just think that easy KO just kind of drops him just slightly back, the embarrassment of that. Alex Volkanovski, 1 point was titanium. I'd say his chin is decent now. He's had one or two. Actually, if I'm putting Jamal Hill in average, I'd say his chin is now average. Alex Volkanovski, I think he's been shattered twice. The head kick off Islam, the knockout from Ilia Topuria. He's on 2 back-to-back KOs. I think overall his chin used to hold up, But I think now Alex Volkanovski's chin is a bit average because he's had those two kind of major KO losses. So I'll probably put Alex Volkanovski in there. Cody Garbrandt, self-explanatory, glass jaw bum. Unfortunately, was one of my favourite fighters. He's still kind of one of my favourite fighters, but he's just a glass cannon, you know what I mean? Fires offense like no man's business, but when anyone touches him, I think who did lose to recently? Figueiredo, but I think that was grappling. He lost in that aspect. But I'd say, glass jaw bum. Leon's got a good chin. I think his striking defense is very good. So and he plays the range very well. We never really get to see how his chin is. But Bilal was tagging him at points, but he was never really rocked. But Bilal doesn't have that kind of power. But I don't think off the top of my head Leon's ever been KO'd. I think he's only ever been submitted potentially. So I'll put Leon Edwards in good. He's got a very good chin, but he uses his striking defense more as his first line of defense. Adesanya, good. In kickboxing, we saw, Pereira sleep him and whatnot. But ever since he moved to MMA, he's fought some big hitters, uses his striking and his defense and his range is good. Pereira got him, rocked him. Duplessis got him, rocked him. But he's never been flat out KO'd cold since he's been in the UFC. He has been rocked. He has been dropped by Strickland as well. But that chin, to be fair to him, he hasn't taken much damage. He uses his defense very well and uses his range very well. So I'd put Israel Adesanya in good. He's got a good chin on him. Max Holloway, the man of the hour, the reason why I'm making this video. Good. He was one or number two, you know what I mean? He had a titanium chin, but Ilia Topuria has finally cracked Max Holloway's chin and it's lights out, and he falls off the list of the titanium chins. Once you've got it shattered once, you can't go back in titanium. That's how I rule it. So unfortunate for Max Blessed Holloway. Before then, granite, used to take beatings, but finally somebody has come and shattered it. When it comes to strikes absorbed, he's got the most absorbed strikes in the UFC history. That takes its toll on you eventually, and it's finally caught up to him. So, it goes top of good. I think he's got a better chin than all of these because it's actually been tested. Unlike some of these, I'll probably put Islam there. Ian Machado Gary got dropped in a fight. I think it was Song Kanan, I think it was, who dropped him. I can't remember. I remember it was the Asian welterweight guy who dropped him, but he's never been truly KO'd. Don't think we've seen him take too many big hits in his career, so I've just for that reason just got to put him in good for now. Maybe in future we get to see it truly tested when he fights some other guys in the division, and Jack Della Maddalena would be a great fight to see whether or not his chin can hold up, because they would have a great striking battle. So I'll put him in good. This is interesting. I won't knock Max Holloway too much. Shavkat Rakhmonov, one of my favourite fighters in the UFC, had his chin truly tested in that war against Jeff Neal and kept eating the shots and kept coming forward. Never been defeated, undefeated, taking some shots in his career, but giving them straight back. And there was the moments in that Jeff Neal fight where he stood in the pocket and was taking some, shots off Jeff Neal. And I'm pretty sure Jeff Neal's nickname is Hands of Steel. So for that reason, if you can take a beating from Jeff Neal, never been dropped, never been knocked out, Shavkat Rakhmonov's got a good chin. Justin Gaethje. Interesting one. You know what? I'm probably going to put him in glass jaw bump. Justin Gaethje, if I remember his career correctly, so recently KO'd by Max Holloway, but that was an accumulation of damage. Fought Michael Chandler, beat him, but before that fought Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira dropped him twice. Charles Oliveira dropped him once, but Charles, you wouldn't think, would have the advantage on the feet, And then before that, had the wars with Michael Johnson. Eddie knocked him out. Gaethje knocked him out and dropped him. I'll put him in glass jaw bum, because if in that lightweight division someone's coming with striking offense and can clip him, Tony Ferguson even dropped him in their fight. So to be fair, he is gettable, and he does get rocked quite a lot. He has got that recoverability, like in the Tony Ferguson fight. But when they've got him back up against the fence, like Eddie Alvarez did, like Dustin Poirier did, they managed to put him away, So I will put him in glass jaw bum, His chin has been kind of destroyed a few times on occasion. So, yeah, I think that's a fair place to put him. Good old Bobby Knuckles had his jaw shattered by Khamzat Chimaev recently at UFC 308. I'll put him in. I'll put him in average. Robert Whittaker. I'll put him. Yeah, I think average is the fair place to put him. KO'd by Israel Adesanya. You know, when he, at welterweight had some brutal losses. I'm pretty sure Wonderboy put him out. At middleweight, you know, got his weight up and was a bit like, you know, could take a shot. But, you know, he's taken some beatings off some guys. I think Yoel Romero rocked him. Izzy KO'd him. Darren Till, I'm pretty sure, rocked him. Duplessis KO'd him. Every fight, he just seems to get rocked. He does survive, which gives him credit, but he can have that chin shattered and he can be put out. Duplessis, Izzy have put him out. So for that reason, you know, these two have kind of had big KO losses and he's had 2 KO losses and he's had 2 massive KO losses back to back. That's why he's down here. But just, I feel like that chin's gettable and he gets rocked in so many fights. And for that reason, you get him an average. Johnny Walker, I've only put him on this list because Glassjaw bum. He's the most, I swear he's like the most KO'd fighter on the roster at the minute. Yeah, his chin just gets shattered. It was a meme. They want to see him with Pereira just to see if just to see what that KO would be like. I feel like we might see someone die in the octagon if they fought against each other. So yeah, Johnny Walker is just here as a reference point as the worst chin in the UFC. Conor McGregor, got knocked out by Dustin Poirier. That's the only really knockout he's ever had. I'll put him in decent. You know, he's very evasive with his striking, but in recent years we haven't seen him as much. Khabib clipped him, which was like the first time we ever saw him, you know, kind of dropped, I think, like that. I don't think Nate Diaz dropped him. Khabib dropped him. Poirier's KO'd him, but, you know, that was an accumulation of damage. But other than that, we haven't really seen his chin tested on that level, but it's been proven to be gettable now, so I'll put it in decent. And, of course, we haven't seen him fight in ages. Merab's an interesting one, because he's been in a couple of wars, like where he's actually had his chin battered and then he's had to like recover, you know. Cejudo landed big on him. But off the top of my head, I actually don't think Merab's been put out cold like that. He's been submitted. There was a fight where I swear he showed, I think it was against Marlon Moraes, where he was rocked really bad, came back in the fight and ended up beating Moraes. But just off the top of my head, I'll put him in good. He's got a good chin. He's taken some beatings. And yeah, I think that's a fair place to put him. Khamzat Chimaev. With Gilbert Burns, rocked him quite a bit. Kamaru landed good on him, but he's never been tested. I don't think his chin has been tested on that level. So for that reason, I'd probably put it in good. He's got a good chin on him. But Burns did show at a weight class lower that he can land and he can, you know, drop him. We haven't seen Khamzat Chimaev fight enough to see if he's truly been tested, especially against the highest level middleweights like, you know, Dricus Duplessis, like Adesanya. You know, Pereira's gone up, but imagine if Pereira landed on him. I feel like Pereira could have put him away. I just think, though, his chin, we have seen it tested. It has taken some beating. It is good, but I just wouldn't put it in titanium because we haven't got that kind of mountain of evidence of where to put it. Dan Ige. A lot of people were like, why would you put Dan Ige on this list? He's not a top level fighter. He's not as like high level as some of these champions or title contenders. Reason being, he's got a titanium chin. Dan Ige has one of the best chins in the UFC, whether you like it or hate him. The guy takes beatings. He's never been KO'd. And the other thing, I don't think he's ever been finished. I don't even think he's ever been submitted in his career. He takes hits. He takes hits like it's no man's business and keeps coming forward and smacking guys back. And I'm pretty sure, off the top of my head, he's nearly had 20 fights in the UFC and he's never been KO'd. And he's been in that featherweight division and fought some heavy hitters and some killers. Never been KO'd, never been finished. Off the top of my head, I reckon he's been dropped. But I honestly can't remember it. And like when you look at taking on Diego Lopez on short notice and, you know, going to war with him and taking the shots he was giving, you know, Dan Ige's chin, I'm comfortably saying he's got a titanium chin and one of the best chins in the UFC. Derek Lewis, Glassjaw bomb. I just think Lewis doesn't like to get hit. You know, look at some of the fights he's taken against Tuivasa, against some of the ever Pavlovich, he doesn't like getting hit, and when he gets hit, he just gets dropped. He can fire back, but he doesn't like getting hit back. So for that reason, I think Glass Jaw Bum is the fair place to put him. DP Dustin Poirier. You know what? This DP, he's been knocked out by Gaethje recently, and before that, got submitted by Oliveira. He's been recently submitted by Islam, and before that was submitted by Habib. But he's taken some licks off some of the heaviest handed hitters in the division. It was a perfect head kick to take him out. I don't think anyone who's landed flush on him has put him away. It took a perfect head kick from Justin Gaethje to put him away. So for that reason, I would say Dustin Poirier has got a good chin. And I like his boxing defense as well. He's always aware when he's up against the fence. He's blocking stuff and then he's firing back. You look at that Benoit Saint Denis fight where Benoit was pouring the pressure on Poirier. But I would comfortably say, Dustin Poirier has a good chin, solid chin. Poirier got knocked out by Gaethje, but that was a flush head kick. So for that reason, deserves his spot in good. Brandon Moreno, mate, the guy got a solid chin. And at the lower divisions, you're more likely to have a solid chin because the firepower coming the other way isn't as much. Like Derek Lewis has got Pavlovich and Francis. And I know the fight against Francis Ngannou was a dud. When you've got guys who hit that hard against you, you're going to be lights out. The guys lower, they don't have the opportunity because they've got like guys who don't hit as hard. But Brandon Moreno's been in a few wars with Figgy. He's had war with Pantoja. Only reason I don't put him in titanium, I think he was knocked out previously in his career before he was cut in the UFC. I think it was on the Ultimate Fighter or whatever. Since he's come back, I think he hasn't been finished. But when he has been in these wars against these people, Figgy had him stumbling all over the place. Pantoja rocked him around. His kind of whereabouts and his base isn't that strong, but that chin holds up and he's a Mexican, they can take a beating. So for that reason, I have put Brandon Moreno in good. I'd probably put him up here, the high level. Petr Yan, interesting one. I think Petr Yan has a solid chin as well. He's got a good chin on him. He can take a couple of licks. He took a battering off Merab. It wasn't like a solid one shot or a couple of shots, but he took a beating off Merab. You go the O'Malley fight, O'Malley landed some stinging shots. I think it was at that flying knee he landed against him, huge shots. And Petr, you can argue, was robbed in that fight, but he took a beating. Before that, coming up against Jose Aldo, took it to Jose Aldo. He's got a solid chin on his Petr Yan. Sandhagen as well, that fight, he's taken some massive shots. And I'm pretty sure Petr Yan is booked to fight Davidson Figueiredo, so we can put it to the test. I can't wait for that one. So that is a fair place to put him. Yuri Prohaska. At one point, Yuri Prohaska was like this, undeniable force in the division. He had so much aura and so much about him. But ever since Alex Pereira's entered his life, it's just like, bloody hell, nope. Yuri Prohaska had a very good bout against Alexander Rakic where he took a beating off Alexander Rakic and then survived and then came back and beat him. But then whenever he's faced Pereira, it's like, bye, go to sleep. But then you think of the Glover Teixeira fight. Glover put a bit of a beating on him and he's weird with his defense and he's stumbling all over the place. But for the embarrassing manner that Alex Pereira put you out, I just think if I'm putting Jamal in average, I'm going to have to put you in average. He's dropped you on multiple occasions, kind of KO'd you, and you've come off these KO losses, in very succession. Like you've lost to him, took a battering from Rakic, which was very good, and then lost to Pereira again with the power. And if somebody else with power maybe lands on Yuri again, it could be lights out again. So comfortable putting Yuri in average. Duplessis, I'll put in good. Duplessis has taken a couple of beatings in the UFC as of recent. But whenever he gets hit, he just comes back and hits you right back with as much momentum. Never been KO'd in the UFC. He's taken a lot of damage. And to be honest with you, he's taken a lot of hits on the chin. So to be honest, he if he gets a couple of more wins where he's proper tested, he could come up here. So yeah, I think Dricus du Plessis has a solid chin, takes a beating and then gives it back. Charles Oliveira. decent, I think, because of those years prior where he was kind of rocked and stumbled and that, and he would give up on himself. He'll go in decent. But he's showing firepower back, but every fight he just manages to get dropped by someone, and then he just sits in his guard. Islam dropped him. I think Chandler may have rocked him. Gaethje rocked him. I'm not sure if Sarukian rocked him, but everyone's managed to kind of rock him, go down, and he uses that guard of his as a second form of defense. So I'll put him in decent. Sugar Sean, good. He's got a good chin. He's, all right. Takes some beating sometimes, but we haven't seen it truly tested. Piotr put a battering on him. Vera didn't manage to get going, but I feel like we could see in the future Sean O'Malley's chin exposed and see him get knocked out. I just think he uses his range and his elusiveness and his footwork as his defense. We've never seen that chin truly crack, so we'll put him in good. Ilia Topuria, very, very, very good chin, took that war against Josh Emmett. The only reason he hasn't gone in titanium, we haven't got that bulk of work where we've seen him. He's had 7 or 8 fights in the UFC. Actually, you know what? I won't put him there yet. I was going to say he had that Jai Herbert head kick, and then he came back and rallied back and, fought back from that, which is amazing. Just a couple of more fights, and I reckon I'll be comfortable putting him in titanium, maybe. Maybe just need to see him take 1 or 2 more good shots. But to be fair, Volk and Max were landing good on him. I'm going to change my mind. I'm putting Ilia Topuria in titanium for now. I think he's got a titanium chin. The war from Josh Emmett took a beating back off Josh Emmett and survived. He took the head kick from Jai Herbert, took some decent shots off Volkanovski, knocked him out, and then took some decent shots off Max Holloway. Max was landing that elbow and landing some good stinging jabs. Max ain't got the most power, but I think Ilia Topuria, I'm comfortable putting him in titanium for now. Up next, Michael Chandler. There's somebody missing actually who I need to add to this list, and I'm annoyed that I haven't got him here, so I've probably have to edit him in. Michael Chandler, glass jaw bum. Yeah, I'm comfortable putting him in there. He just fights stupid, gets rocked, and he's been knocked out by Charles Oliveira. Poirier rocked him and submitted him. Gaethje battered him. Who else has he fought recently? God knows. Got knocked out in Bellator a few times as well and been finished. Glass jaw bum, I think, is fair place to put him. Strickland. I'll put Strickland in decent. I think a lot of people would probably want to put him in good, but I just think his striking defense is good. But I think once his chin gets cracked, he gets put away. It's just landing on him, which is the hard part. Pereira's shown that once you land on him, you can put him away. If you don't land on him and he pressures you, he can kind of drown you. But if you can land flush on him, I feel like you can put him in away. So I'll put him in decent. Tommy Aspinall. Put Tom Aspinall in good. We never see his chin tested, to be honest with you, because he finishes the fight in like a minute and a half and then it's done. So we've not really seen it tested, but I reckon he can take a hit and give it back. Pavlovich was stinging him with a couple of shots, but I think good is a decent place to... Good's a good place to put him. Marvin Vettori, Mr. Titanium himself. He has taken a beating against some of the hardest hitters in the middleweight division, taken some batterings. I'm pretty sure he ain't even been knocked down. I think he's fought the likes of, Jared Cannonier, probably Gastelum, Israel Adesanya. I don't think he's fought Paulo Costa, Robert Whittaker. He has fought Paulo Costa, actually. That was the fight where we all realised he had a titanium chin, because Costa missed 185. They fought at 205. Paulo Costa was landing some massive shots, and Vettori was like, yeah, and what? He's taken some huge hits and probably has the most iron chin in the UFC currently. Out of these two, he's here for the historical legacy, but these two are here for current. These two, they've been rocked and dropped. I don't think this guy's been knocked down. So for that reason, I'll chucking him in titanium. Next up, we've got Bilal. I feel like Bilal's had, the losses to Luque and I'm pretty sure Jeff Neal. But recently, Leon rocked him in that first fight. He just manages to grapple in time where he doesn't get exposed in the striking. So for that reason, I'll put Bilal in decent. He's had a few KO losses, but He just hasn't been rocked, and I feel like Shafkat's going to put him to the test if it doesn't turn into a grappling matchup. He's got a decent chin. Alex Pereira, I'll put in... Do I put him in... I'll put him in decent. I won't put him in good just because he got brutally KO'd by Izzy. Like, yes, Izzy got knocked out like that in kickboxing, but never in MMA. Alex Pereira got put out cold. It was bad. Ever since he's gone up to light heavyweight, he has managed to take some hits. His recoverability is really good, you know, against Israel Adesanya, gets rocked in the first fight and manages to recover. Takes some huge shots against Yuri and Khalil, manages to survive. But I just think he uses his striking and his range as his defense. But I think if the right person can crack his chin, they can put him away. So I'll probably put Alex Pereira in decent. I'm missing one person, so I'm going to use the power of editing and magically edit him in up here. And that is Alexandre Pantoja. Never been finished in MMA. Has been rocked a few times, I remember, against Moreno, against Davison Figueiredo. I'm pretty sure dropped him a few times. But he takes some huge shots and manages to survive. You know, him and Erceg traded quite a bit on the feet, and we saw what Erceg did against Matt Schnell. You know, so Alexandre Pantoja, though, he's shown over his UFC career, he can take some hits, can take some beatings, take some punches and survive and come back. So for that reason, Alexandre Pantoja is in the titanium list. So the titanium list would look Marvin Vettori, John Jones, Dan Ige, Ilia Topuria, and Alexandre Pantoja. I think, off the top of my head, I haven't gone through the whole roster. I just made this video as a bit of fun and just a bit of content. But I'd say those guys have the titanium and the best chins in the UFC at the moment. What do you think of this list? I didn't use the most extensive roster. I just put together whatever I could and whatever was on my laptop. But let us know what you think in the comments down below of this tier list. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think I got it completely wrong? Who am I missing? Who else would you put in titanium? Who's shown a titanium chin? Put that down in the comments below. Leave a like if you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more MMA fight content coming soon. If you want me to make some other tier lists, let me know down in the comments below. We hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you in the next one.